Ciao and welcome! I'm Giulia and today's class is really interesting. Are you ready to start? Let's go! Dodging and burning is one of the fundamental Photoshop techniques. You will hear it all the time, especially in like portrait photography or lifestyle photography. But we can also apply it to food photography with incredible results. Dodging and burning is basically the contouring in basically doing contouring in Photoshop. So basically what you're doing is you're enhancing the texture by brightening some areas and darkening some other areas of your image. This will add dimension to your shapes and three-dimensionality, and like you will just emphasize the shapes. It's a technique very much used in portrait photography to turn the Mona Lisa from like brown and chubby to this beautiful duck face model. So it is basically like applying contour to your face, except that we're doing it in Photoshop and we're doing it to food. It's a similar concept to local adjustments in Lightroom. However, in Photoshop, you have a lot more control and you can do it much better than you can in Lightroom. So you can basically add selective contrast to your image from something like this, which is a little bit flat and a little bit dull. This is with the basic Lightroom adjustments, to this, which is something a little bit more punchy. There's a lot more contrast going on, and it's just a little bit like a lot more interesting in terms of the contrast in the image. And is another example from something like it looks a little bit washed out, like the exposure is correct, however, it's missing that kind of contrast. And especially if you want to work on like something dark and moody, then dodging and burning is definitely a technique that you want to master. What tools do we need in Photoshop? So we're going to work using curve layers, we're going to use masks, and we're going to use brushes today for dodging and burning. So let's go into Photoshop and let me show you. Okay, I'm gonna start from the licorice image here. This is a dark, very dark and moody shot. However, I still wanna increase the contrast and do some selective contrast on this image, because I think it looks a little bit washed out and a little bit dull and flat. So I want to improve that. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on my background layer, and then I am going to go down, bottom right, create new adjustment layer. And I'm going to create a curves adjustment layer. This one is an adjustment layer that works on my on the exposure for the highlights, shadows, and midtones. What I really want to do is click on the hand over here. And this is basically like the eyedropper tool, as you can see. So based on where you click on the image, it's going to modify here the curve on your histogram. So I want to create two of these curves adjustment layers. One for dodging, which is basically increasing the brightness, and another curve adjustment layer for burning, which is basically darkening the shadows and the midtones. So in this case, I am creating the dodge adjustment layer. So I want this curve layer to work on my highlights. Therefore, I am going to click on a part of the image where I have highlights. So for example, here. So I'm going to click and drag up. Can you see how my whole image is getting a lot brighter? Okay, and you can see it reflected on the curve here. So this is perfect, and I know it looks crap, but you can see how before and after looks. So basically on this layer, which is the dodge layer, or the bright, we'll put it this way so that we understand, I am going to work on brightening the areas that I want brighter, obviously. Next thing I'm going to do is I am going to invert this mask by pressing Command or Control and I on your keyboard. So as you can see, now the image is back to normal. With a black mask over here, you basically cannot see this layer because it's going to show you the background layer instead. So if I toggle it on and off, you can't see any difference. And it's exactly what you want when you work with dodging and burning. You want to have your masks inverted so that they don't show. They will show when we work on them with brushes, but for now, we don't want to apply that mask. We want to have it hidden. Second thing we're gonna do is we're going to create another curves adjustment layer, this time for burning or darkening. Okay, so this is our curve layer for darkening, which means I'm gonna again select my eyedropper tool, and we're going to go and darken the shadows in this image. So I am going to click on an area where I have some shadows. I'm gonna click, hold, and drag down. And you can see in the curve here, the curve is changing based on me dragging down the shadows. So now you can see the mask is white, and if I toggle it on and off, it changes quite drastically. So in order to not show this mask and to hide it, I am going to press Command or Control I on my keyboard. And now you can see that that curve layer is basically hidden under this mask. Okay. Next up, we want to create a group out of these two layers, and we drag them down to the folder icon here, and we create a group that I normally call dodge and burn. So I know that this is where I am going to work on my burning and dodging, basically. And the reason why I'm doing this is not only so that I can keep organized and have, not have all my layers all over the place. I know that these two work together, so they're in their own folder. This is my OCD, but also it's convenient because then I can just toggle on and off the group and see the results straight away instead of having to toggle both of these on and off all the time. Okay, so it's just a more immediate way to notice my results. Cool. So next up, what we're going to do is we're actually now going to click on each of these layers, each of these layer masks, and use brushes to bring out the curve adjustment layer that is below the mask, which means if I work on the dodge layer here, what I am going to do is I am going to brighten some areas of the image. The areas that I want brighter. So some things to remember here. The mask needs to be black, and the things that I want to bring out, I need to use a brush, and I need the brush to be white. Okay, this is very important. If the colors are inverted, then I am not going to bring any detail out because I am painting with a black brush on a black mask, and black on black, as you might imagine, doesn't change anything. While if I invert the colors over here and I paint, I'm gonna overdo it now just to show you, and I paint white, look at that. If I paint with a white brush on a black mask, you can see that this is the area where I painted, and I've just created this by pressing the / on my keyboard. So you can toggle the mask on and off that way just to see where you've painted. But you can see also over here on the right that with a white brush, I'm basically deleting the black mask, therefore revealing the curve adjustment layer that's below, and that brightens part of my image. So now I'm going to just go back to 0. Again, my mask is again completely black. So now I am going to just paint over the details that I want to bring out and make brighter. You rarely wanna set your brush opacity to 100 and flow to 100. I just did it to show you there. I'm generally working anything between 40% and 50% opacity and flow, just so that I have more control and I don't overdo it, and it just looks more realistic. So I want to bring out some of the details here in my licorice. So these little flowers, I really want them to pop. So I am just painting with my brush on top of them. You can see what's happening in your mask, both over here on your mask, and also if you press the /, again, you can see where you've painted. And also another thing you can do is you can click the option on your keyboard, click on the, sorry, the wrong mask, click on the mask, and again, it will show you exactly where you've painted and how much you've painted. So whiter areas, so you're revealing more in the whiter areas and less in the gray areas. And then again, click option, click on the mask, and go back to this. So now I am just gonna go ahead and paint all the areas that I want to brighten up in the image. As I said, I want these little cute flowers to really pop. I want this guy to pop as well. Over here, pop, pop, pop. And for now, I guess that's pretty much it. Let's have a look. These are the areas that I have painted. Okay, and then I can toggle on and off to see how much brighter they are. Now I'm gonna work on darkening and adding contrast to other areas of my image. So same concept, you're selecting the mask that you want to work on. So in this case, the burn mask, the dark mask. Then you're selecting your brush, either here or you can press B on your keyboard for the brush tool. And again, make sure that you're painting with white color and not black color. So with the white on your mask selected, I'm gonna just increase the size of my brush because I want this area to be quite wide as I paint. And I'm gonna paint and darken. I'm creating basically like a natural vignette around my subject here. So I am really darkening very much all around the shadows down here. I really want to emphasize this, basically this ray of light that is hitting my subject. I want to create like a spotlight effect here. So I am going to burn all the shadows, like very much. And you can do this as much or as little as you want, based on the result that you want to get. And again, you can toggle on and off to see the difference. Look at how much my subject is popping now. And if you toggle the dodge and burn group on and off, you can see the finished result, basically. Can you see how much more contrast there is in the image and how much more my subject is popping? And that's exactly what I want to achieve with a dark and moody image like this. I want my subject to really stand out, and I want it to be the brightest part, the brightest element in my frame. And I do that by burning pretty much whatever's around it and dodging the subject so that it can really stand out. I'm gonna do a little bit more dodging over here just because, and then again, toggle on and off, and that's your result with dodging and burning. I'm gonna show you the same concept, the same process on this other image, just because repetition is key to learning. So click on the background, go down here and add a curves adjustment layer. We call this dodge for brightening up certain parts of the image. Select the eyedropper, the hand tool here, click and drag up to brighten the highlights. Then go on the mask, select the mask, click on the mask, press Command or Control and I, on your keyboard to invert the mask and hide the curves adjustment layer underneath. Then we add another curves adjustment layer for the darkening, so burn. We click on our little hand, we click on a part of the image where we have some shadows, we click and drag down to darken the shadows, and then we click on our mask, we press Command or Control I to invert the mask and hide the curves adjustment layer. So then now basically our image it looks now the same way that it looked at the beginning. Then we select both adjustment layers, burn and dodge. We click, drag them down to the folder icon to create a group. This is dodge, burn. Keep organized, and we have our dodging and burning over here. Now we click on the dodge level and we press B on our keyboard, or we select the brush tool, make sure that it's on white, and we paint on the areas that we want to brighten up in our image. The opacity and the flow around 40-ish, whatever works for you. If you notice that it's too much, bring it down. If you notice that it's too little, bring it up. That's pretty intuitive as a system. And then keep changing the size of your brush to match the areas that you're painting, basically. There we go. So I'm just now going over the bright areas of my image, the highlights, to make them even more poppy and even more standing out. So before and after, I just increased the brightness of certain areas a little bit. And now I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna click to the burn mask level, adjust the size of my brush, and paint on the areas that I want to darken down, which is basically kinda almost everything in this picture, because I am creating a Halloweeny, dark and moody picture here as well. So I want a lot of darkness. And I want my smoothie, this part of the smoothie, to be the brightest thing in my image. So I'm also darkening down the color of my background, so that, again, the thing that will stand out the most in this picture is gonna be my smoothie. And I am going to go down here and make my little eyes a little darker here. I'm going to emphasize some shadows here on my gem so that it's popping even more. And then I will work on the dodge again to bring out more highlights over here and make it a little bit clearer, lighter. And then you can toggle on and off at any time, any point, to see your progress. And as you can see, there's quite a bit difference from this image, which is a little bit lacking in contrast, to this one, which is really moody, and the look and feel is a lot better for the Halloweeny theme that I wanted to give it. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in next time. Ciao!